Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our final webinar of the Social Media Institute series. We've had such a great time going through social media strategies, creative best practices, and we're sad to see this coming to a close, but we hope that you found this webinar series very helpful. As a reminder, my name is Megan Murtis, and I have been your keynote speaker for this four-part webinar series hosted by Lumina Foundation. I am a social media director for Trinity Minds, a digital marketing agency specialized in higher education. Today, I'm joined by Zach Henry, our Vice President of Campaign Studio. For our final presentation, we will be discussing social media growth strategies. This will cover a wide array of tactics that will help to expand your organic reach and ultimately grow your following. To get started, please drop your name, your school, and what you hope to learn about today. And as always, we'll just kind of use this time for other people to be able to join and kind of a little icebreaker activity. Maggie, I'm glad that you said incorporating students more into your content strategy. That will definitely be something that we talk about today. Okay, well, we do have a pretty packed schedule today, so we'll go ahead and just get started. For those of you that have joined in the last minute or so, as a recap, my name is Megan Murtis, Social Media Director. We'll be discussing social media growth strategies today. This is our final webinar of the Social Media Institute series. So up until this point, we have covered the foundation of a social media strategy. We've challenged you to think about your organization's business goals and how to translate those into smart social media goals. And then we discussed best practices for crafting a winning content strategy that will help you to drive measurable results. So by now, you may be thinking, I have a good content strategy and I have the creative for it, but I'm struggling to grow my followers. Follower growth is one of the most difficult metrics to influence. It's very unlikely that by just posting to social media that you will significantly grow your following. So that's why today we're going to talk about specific strategies that can help you to expand your reach and grow your followers. There are three key areas that we're going to review. The first being organic tactics. These are strategies that you can use that don't require any additional expenses, such as simple things like hashtags to more complex things like hopping on trends. So then we'll talk about paid tactics, which will include boosted posts and paid social media campaigns. And then kind of in between the two, we have influencer and content creator marketing. These can be, very minimal cost, or they can, range in much higher costs and can be a little bit more difficult to navigate. So we'll cover three key areas, and then we'll wrap up, as always, with a 10-minute Q&A at the end. So, organic tactics. These strategies, like I said, don't require paid media and play a pretty crucial role in growing your social media reach and following. many of you may have noticed that in the past year or so on Facebook or Instagram that you've seen a decline in your engagement. I know we've seen this across the board for a lot of our clients. Maybe you used to see 30, 40 reactions per post, and now you're lucky if you see 10. Well, um, industry experts have also seen this. Social Insider found that Instagram saw an 18% decrease in organic reach year over year. And Facebook is just as bad with a declining organic reach of about 29% over the past few years. So why is this happening? Well, to sum it up, social media platforms are changing their algorithms to favor authentic content that will keep users engaged on their platform. This means influencers over brands. And in an already oversaturated market, it becomes very difficult to reach new and even current followers. Meta and many other platforms give brands easy solutions to fix this, and that's through monetization, through paid media and boosted posts. Basically, social media is adopting a pay-to-play model to increase their revenue. But don't be discouraged. There's still hope yet. We'll share organic tactics that will help increase your reach and grow your following. The first step is to optimize your profile. A well-optimized profile provides crucial information at a glance and encourages potential followers to engage. So make sure that you use relevant keywords in your name, handle, and bio. This is also a great place to include your location, a call to action, and a link to your website. These simple tweaks can make a significant difference in how discoverable and engaging your profile is. Next, link your socials on your website. This is a free and easy tactic to implement. Did you know that 78% of high school students use social media to research universities during their college search process? They want to find more easy to digest and authentic, real content through your social media. So, in order to do that, make sure that you're adding links to your primary social media pages in the footer of your website. You can also create a dedicated web page like Miami-Dade College for affiliate pages, such as different campuses, academic programs, classes, and things like that. Another great and easy thing to do is to cross-promote on other channels. Maybe you have other tactics that you're currently working on for your marketing strategies, such as email, print materials, things like that. It's really great to include social media handles when thinking about these other marketing tactics. So include your social handles at the bottom of your email footer, or a QR code for to encourage people to follow you at, say, events or on postcards and things like that. Next, become Meta verified. The paid subscription not only gets you that coveted blue check mark, but also includes additional features such as higher placement and search results and greater visibility in the comments. The investment is pretty minimal, just a small monthly cost compared to paid media campaigns, which can be, thousands of dollars. So this can help you to establish credibility and increase discoverability. Very similar, we have information about X Premium. X Premium also gets you that check mark, but it includes different features that traditional X users can't use, such as longer text, video uploads, articles, things like that. So there are different tiers for both Meta and X that you can pick from, and they each have different features, but you can pick one that fits your needs and your budget. Next, let's talk hashtags. You might be wondering, are hashtags still helpful? Well, the answer is hashtag yes and hashtag no. It depends on the platform and on the content. On Instagram and TikTok, they're key for discoverability and ranking higher in the algorithm, while on X, it's really helpful for being discovered during real-time events. But on platforms like Facebook, hashtags just really aren't very impactful. So Can also be great for tracking and procuring user-generated content, as well as improving your SEO. So you can use specific hashtags such as hashtag campaign name, hashtag your school name, things like that to be able to find content related to your school that could be a part of a user-generated campaign. So don't underestimate hashtags just yet. We have provided these guidelines on how many hashtags we recommend using per post on each platform. Next, you'll see we have some trends on here and hashtags. Well, hashtags are very helpful when it comes to trends. They help you to not only identify trends, but they also help you to go potentially viral. It's not very easy to go viral, but it does increase your discoverability when you're hopping on trends. In fact, you can increase your organic reach by 20 to 30%. So if you were unable to attend webinar number 2, that was on how to craft a winning content strategy, we discussed how to identify trends, how to hop on them, and determining whether or not it's right for your school to hop on a trend. So we definitely recommend going back and revisiting that webinar. That's available on Lumina Foundation's website. And there should be this resource as well, which is the white paper, which included more information about current trends that you could hop on. Lastly, we included just a few trends that are relevant right now that you could try for your school. Next, host a social media contest. This tactic is great for growing followers in a short amount of time, as well as boosting engagement and generating user-generated content. The important thing here is to keep the ask low and the incentive strong. This will maximize participation. So potential prizes for community colleges could be sports tickets, bookstore gift cards, or school swag. When running a social contest, just make sure that you post clear language for how to enter the contest, how the winner will be contacted, eligibility such as age, and how to claim the prize. If you need help drafting copy for your contest, make sure to consult your legal or operations team. But this is a great opportunity for you to grow your following, encourage people to tag friends in the comments or even reshare posts to their stories. So great opportunities with hosting a contest. Next, let's talk about community management engagement. Outbound community engagement is where you actively participate in conversations that are happening outside of your social network. So Duolingo, we have talked about in the past, is a really great brand that has grown pretty fast over the past few years. They have a strategy of going and finding the most interesting pop culture videos that are happening right now, and they comment on them. And they this helps to build relationships that not only build trust with the authors, but also their audience. So whether you're engaging with alumni or LinkedIn or even local influencers, this tactic drives visibility for your brand and establishes trust. And then very similar, we have community outreach. This is a little bit deeper of a strategy. It really ties in closely with your public relations and communications team. The end goal here is that you want to be tagged in more posts by other accounts. This increases your social reach. So to grow your mentions, try highlighting student success stories, promoting job fairs, or collaborating with local government and nonprofits. By creating these posts and tagging those pages, it starts to build a relationship with other accounts and encourages them to tag you in future posts. And then finally, we have a collaborator post. You may have seen a collaborator post on Facebook or Instagram. They are easy to spot because it'll say that the video is shared by, or the post is shared by multiple people. Collaborator posts are especially helpful for schools who are looking to grow affiliate account following. So let's say that you started a new page for a certain program and you want to grow the following there. Well, it's really easy to be able to um, show that content in that page to your current following by using a collaborator post. It's free, it's easy to use. Um, it drives up engagement and increases exposure to a broader audience. This is also a very important tactic that will tie into our influencer and content creator discussion later today. So that wraps up organic tactics. But if you are struggling to grow your following after implementing those tactics, we highly recommend that you take a look into paid tactics. So Zach, if you could please take it away.
Perfect. Thank you, Megan. As Megan mentioned at the top of this, my name is Zach Henry. I am our VP of our campaign studio, which is our paid digital arm of Trendy Minds agencies. So with that, let's dive right into some of the synergy that happens between our different branches here. So with paid efforts, they're really meant to work hand in hand with both the content that's on your website as well as your organic social strategy. Our paid tactics can really take what is trending on your organic social and boost it into the stratosphere, as well as we can also get you guys to reach outside of your current social network. So whenever you're utilizing paid tactics, you can both use social media posts as ads themselves, as well as capitalize on popular keywords that you're seeing inside comments and other in social engagement interactions, as well as you can help generate net new followers for your social profiles. So on the next slide, let's dive right into what you should use, whether it's paid or organic. So we're going to want to ask a few different questions here. On the paid side of things, are your organic tactics slow to gain traction? Is your competition outpacing your organic efforts? Are you new to a market and trying to build a new following? Or are new target markets that you're trying to reach out there that you're unable to obtain through organic efforts? If you answered yes to any of this, definitely recommend going with a paid tactic. On the other side of things, is your paid costing too much compared to the return on ad spend or your ROI? Are there a lack of competitive organic efforts? Are you trying to build a community with more engagement? And then lastly, are you producing educational content? If you answered yes here, then you're going to want to go with a organic strategy. And just as a slight caveat on the last question here, whenever I'm saying organic or saying educational content, this means content that is teaching your audience about certain things, not necessarily are you producing content for an educational system. So let's dive into what exactly a boosted post is. Boosted posts are simply your organic posts that have been funded with a paid promotion behind it, just so that you can increase visibility and reach new audiences. So with this would be something that is already being posted on your page. You're just adding funds behind it to obtain a new audience and to increase who all is seeing that post. So when looking at this, there's many different places that you can boost a post. You just want to make sure that your content, your goals, and the audience you're trying to reach are all in alignment with the platform that you're choosing to add funds to. So whenever we're looking at Twitter, your content's typically going to be text or imagery on this platform. The best time to boost a post over here is when you're looking to engage with more folks. And the audience that tends to be on Twitter, for the most part, tends to lean more towards the Gen X and millennial side. Over on Facebook, is also going to be a little bit more of an older audience. So you're going to typically see text and imagery on this as well. Here you will drive engagement, but you also have the opportunity to drive conversions or actions on your website. And you'll be able to reach a little bit older of a generation. This platform tends to include our boomers as well as Gen X and millennials. So if you're trying to go for a little bit younger of an audience, that's whenever we recommend TikTok or Instagram. Instagram uses both imagery and video, while TikTok mainly focuses on video here. But with these platforms, you'll be able to drive conversions on your website. You'll be able to drive engagement with those organic communities, as well as typically with boosted posts, we see increase in followers following a boosted post. Now, with both of these platforms, you're going to be able to see interactions with a variety of generations, but it's mainly going to be coming from our millennials as well as our Gen Z audiences. Next up, let's dive into if you should boost a post or if you should run a full-fledged campaign. So first off, ask yourself, how much money will you commit to this effort? If it's under $3,000, then we recommend going with a boosted post. Anything that's over that, you're going to want to make sure you're getting the most out of every dollar, and campaigns allow for you to make changes and optimizations where with boosted posts, you can see great engagement for as little as $25 behind a post. Next, you want to ask yourself, what time frame will this messaging resonate? If this is a short sprint, between 1 day and 2 weeks, then we probably lean towards a boosted post, versus if you're going to be promoting a message for anything longer than 2 weeks, you're going to want to look at what a campaign can do for you. Over on the next one, we're going to want to ask ourselves, will the content or audience need refreshing? If you're just boosting a static image with a one line in there, that's going to lean itself more towards a boosted post, versus if you're going to want to test out different pieces of creative or try and update your audiences to make sure that you're getting the right folks targeted by your efforts, you're going to want to go with a campaign here. Next up, do you have the tactical skill sets or the time to monitor? What's really nice about boosted posts is just with 2 to 3 clicks, you can get a boosted post up live and have that ad spend going behind it in just a matter of seconds, and you don't need to come back and make adjustments on it. Inversely, if you do have the tactical skills and you've got someone with the time to monitor a campaign, make updates, and optimize it, then you're going to want to go with a campaign effort. And then lastly here, you're going to want to ask yourself, is the topic trending or does it need traffic or traction? If it needs some additional traction because it is not trending, then campaigns are really set up to help you out achieve the goals that you're looking for here. It can take anything from a non-popular item or just a event like a meet the teacher night, something like that, and get it in front of the right folks, versus if you're posting about how Moodang's visiting your college next week, that is already going to get some really good traction going with it, and boosting it can take it to that next level and make you go viral. So whenever it comes to boosted posts themselves, you can do a lot more these days than whenever they first started boosted posts, where you could only go after the folks that followed your own pages. Now you get to tap into a audience system that's a little bit more similar to what we see on the campaign setup side of things. Nowadays with boosted posts, you can go with some generalized audiences such as advantage targeting, which is where a platform is going to analyze the content that you are producing and your followers, and then come up with an AI generated curation of users that it thinks would be most interested in the topic that you're posting about. You can also go after folks that only like your page, or you can go after folks that like your page, as well as a cluster of users that have similar personalities to them. You can think of this as like a 1% lookalike audience. Next up, you're also able to tailor who is seeing your posts by both location targeting as well as demographic targeting. You can say, hey, I want it to be within 15 miles of this specific zip code, or you can also go into some demographic targeting. Hey, they need to be of this age range. Those are the folks that we're really looking for, or this household income is going to be most impacted by this information. The next one that is probably the best one to utilize whenever you're looking at capturing a net new audience is interest-based targeting. These are folks that are already under preset groups of users that a platform has captured enough data to say, hey, these folks like hiking, or these folks like higher education and continued learning, anything like that. And then the last segment here would be for platform placement, especially whenever you're utilizing a platform similar to Meta, where you're able to put ads pretty much anywhere. You can also say, hey, I only want to have my ads seen, or my boosted post seen on Instagram, or I only want this boosted post to be seen on Facebook itself. So you can dedicate your boosted post to be seen in different areas based on your settings in platform placement. Unfortunately, two things that you are not able to do currently through boosted posts is utilize custom audience segments or negative audience segments. If you're looking to do either of those, we definitely recommend that you go into a campaign side of things. So I'll show you here some of the more popular custom audiences that we utilize in campaigns. So whenever it comes to a custom audience, this is an audience that you are telling a platform to go after based on either a pixel on the website or through data sets that you are uploading to the backend. So if you're uploading an audience, you can pull this from your CRM and put that into these different platforms, and they will help curate an audience based on the users and a match back. If you're looking to utilize a pixel that's been installed on your website, you can say, hey, I'm defining an audience of folks that have either visited my entire site or visited a very specific set of pages, anything like that. You can also go after event or conversion audiences. This would be folks that have signed up for a newsletter or submitted an application, anything like that on your website. And then lastly would be a lookalike audience. This would be taking any of the other custom audiences that you utilize and then say, hey, I really like these folks, but I also want their 1% or their 1% connection to these folks. This is going to expand your audience a little bit outside of what you originally upload here. Whenever you're working with a custom audience, you're typically going to see a matchback rate between 60 and 80%. That's all going to be dependent upon the amount of data that you are giving the platforms for them to try and recognize and match back to the user base that they have, whether that be through emails, phone numbers, addresses, anything like that. So the more data that you give a platform, the more likely they are to match that information back to a user that you are trying to target. All right, so if you do decide to go the campaign route, the last thing we want to talk about are some recommended optimizations and how you can better get the most performance out of the ad dollars that you're putting behind a campaign. So here, some things that we recommend is running A/B test whenever it comes to images, as well as multi-message text. This is giving multiple different headlines or body text to an ad and letting a platform optimize, while A/B testing is running two separate ads. And then after a set period of time, once you've reached statistical significance, being able to say, hey, this one performed the best, I'm going to pause my other efforts. Another way that you can optimize is through day parting. This is typically at about the 3-week mark as when you're going to have enough data collected, but you're able to see how users are interacting with your campaign. And this is typically broken down by either hours of the day or days of the week, saying, okay, hey, we typically only see folks searching for us on a weekday. So you may want to optimize by turning off ad spend on weekends. Similarly, with hours of the day, if you're not getting folks that are pulling all-nighters and interacting with your stuff, then you may want to tailor your hours from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. and not serve during the other times of the day. You can also break down your ad sets by audiences and determining whether you want to lump things together or if you want to segment things out. If you segment them out, you have better clarity into how each audience is interacting with your ads, but sometimes you're looking to go after very large sets of folks. And in that case, we recommend lumping audiences together. Next up, you can do some location optimizations. Once it's been running for a little while, a campaign will then let you know which areas of users are interacting with you the most. You can drill down from a country level at the highest all the way down to a city level. So this is a really good way to make sure that you're not spending outside of the locations that you're seeing the most traction, or better understanding where your engagement is coming from itself, and if there are any new markets that you need to be tapping into because they're interacting with you the most. And then the last recommendation that we have for optimizations is whenever you're going through and setting up a campaign, we highly recommend that you set up an audience capturing users that are landing on your landing page. This is a great way to then hit up afterwards with a re-engagement effort based on folks that have not taken actions on your website. So this would be folks that have interacted with your ad, but then did not convert. You can get back in front of them with a new message, re-engage them and say, hey, I know that you started our application process, but didn't finish it. We'd love to give you another opportunity to go through and finish this. So just some great ways to go through and optimize your campaign. But another way to go through a campaign creation is with an influencer or a content creator. So I'll hand things back off over to Megan to talk about those a bit more in depth.
Thanks, Zach. So, as I mentioned earlier, social algorithms are changing. Users prefer authentic content, which means that a real person may be required to speak to a camera. And people want honesty and relatability rather than polished content. In fact, 61% of Gen Z prefers user-generated content over any other content format. So, how can your school incorporate more user-generated content into your content strategy to increase reach, engagement, and grow followers? Well, there's really two options. You can work with an influencer or a content creator. Now, you may be wondering, what's the difference between this? Well, ultimately, all influencers are content creators, but not all content creators are influencers. You may be a content creator. If you create any kind of content for social media, you're considered a content creator. An influencer, though, comes with costs, influence, and a lot more followers. To kind of help illustrate this, I have created this table for you to just kind of explain the difference. So first off, focus. Influencers are focused on influencing purchase decisions or behavioral decisions, while content creators are focused on creating quality creative. Their audiences follow them for different reasons as well. People follow influencers for their recommendations and influence. So they're highly knowledgeable about certain products and experiences, whereas content creators, people just follow them for interesting content. It doesn't necessarily have to do anything with products. Collaborations. So this is really where your school would work differently with each. Influencers do sponsored posts, endorsements, and partnerships, while content creators may just work with you to provide user-generated content. Influencers obviously hold a greater weight over broad purchasing decisions or even trends, whereas content creators may just have a little bit of influence in very niche areas, such as media, classes, things like that. So very big difference between your end outcome for both. But contracts, this is really how, again, you would be working with them. Influencers, you are typically working with on a shorter, more formal contract, which would include monetary value. Whereas a content creator may not require anything. They may just be looking for an experience or knowledge. So you can work with them in plenty of different ways. So to illustrate this, these points, we've crafted a few examples of influencers versus content creators. Both can be students or alumni, but again, it really just depends on how many followers that they have. And that really leads us into the type of influencers. We group influencers by their follower size. So you may have heard these terms, but they can range from mega influencers with over 1 million followers to nano influencers who have less than 10,000 followers. So cost will vary greatly depending on what size influencer that you work with. But really, nano influencers are going to be the best for your school, probably to work with, as well as maybe micro influencers. You most of the time are wanting to work with current students or alumni for authentic voices for your brand. Now, there are some exceptions that we'll talk about later, but these two bottom ones are really the best for your content strategy. As far as content creators, like I said, this could be student ambassadors, faculty, or alumni. They can create relatable and engaging content, help to showcase your institution's unique culture and environment, as well as hopping on trends. So as you can guess, the reason we don't call them influencers is because they probably don't have a substantial following, and they don't require a paid contract to create content for you. So you can see here, all of these examples, these are actually shared by the university versus by the influencer or content creator in this case. So when figuring out which one works best for you, ask yourself, what's your primary goal? If it's to influence decisions quickly, then an influencer is the best way to go. If it's to build long-term engagement with niche content, a content creator could be more beneficial. So consider your audience, timeline, KPIs, things like this. If your target audience is current students, you probably need to work with a current student who's either an influencer or just a content creator. How will you measure success? If you have very specific goals in mind that you need to achieve, let's say you want to reach 500,000 people. Well, if that's the case, working with a content creator isn't going to make that much sense because a content creator may not have that following, and you'd probably be sharing it just to your current page, which is difficult to go viral, versus you can work with an influencer and you know that they have a large enough following. Again, we kind of talked about this. Does it matter if they graduated from your school or currently attend your school? If you're looking for an authentic campaign that's talking about why students would choose your school, it's not going to make sense for you to work with an influencer that hasn't worked for or hasn't attended your school. So keep that in mind. You want your campaign to be authentic and establish trust. Then also consider your budget. Like I said, influencers will almost always require actual costs, whereas students or faculty will typically work with you for the experience or some other kind of trade. So that kind of helps with building, a relationship there. We talked about short-term versus long-term. So short-term is likely going to be influencers, but a content creator, you could work with like a student ambassador and have a long-term relationship. And then lastly, do you want to have control over the message? Well, influencers are more likely to want to have control over their message and have say in what the final product is, versus a content creator may just be, volunteering for help, volunteering to help you execute on your vision. So now that we've covered these questions and a little bit more about the difference between two, let's go back to school and jump into a scenario workshop. So over the next few slides, I'm going to show a couple of prompts, and then Amber is going to drop in a multiple choice option where you can decide whether an influencer, a content creator, or both makes sense for the example. So the first scenario is, I want to promote campus life. Which makes the most sense? Hopefully you guys are able to answer pretty quickly. Looks like most of us said content creator. If you said that, you are correct. I also said content creator because in this case, we don't really have any specific goals that we want to achieve. We simply want to put out campus life content. So investing in an influencer isn't the best solution for our social media manager in this scenario. Next, I want to run a short-term enrollment campaign. Do we think influencer or content creator? Okay. If you said both, that's what I also said. Now, if you picked one or the other, you're not wrong. The important thing is with this, that the influencer is going to be a great spokesperson for the enrollment campaign. They'll help you to increase your exposure. However, if you don't have access to an influencer that makes sense, like perhaps they don't attend your school, then partner with a content creator. This will still bring authenticity and trust to your campaign. I want to create a study tip series. Do we think influencer, content creator, or both? If you said content creator, you are correct. This really is the best choice. Again, it's very similar to the first scenario. We don't have specific goals in mind. So we just want to share a one-time post that will increase engagement. So I recommend content creator in this scenario. Next, I want to create a viral video that reaches prospective new students. Do we think influencer, content creator, or both? All right, if you said influencer, you are correct. So influencers in this case are going to be a great opportunity for a video to go viral. A good example of a partnership that you could consider is perhaps you have seen the demure trend. You want to hop on this trend, you want it to go viral. Well, a good opportunity could be to work with Jules LeBron and have them say, talk about how your school is very demure, very mindful. So I'll drop a link to one of their influencer partnerships in the chat. So that way you can kind of see an example of that. Next, I want to increase enrollment among veterans. This is our last scenario. So hopefully this has been helpful up until this point. Do we think influencer, content creator, or both here? If you said both, you were correct, but if you picked either, you're also correct. It just depends on your budget, really. If there are a certain number of veterans that you need enrolled and you have like a more important goal that you're trying to reach, it's probably better to work with an influencer. because they can help you to expand your reach. But if you have a smaller budget, working with a veteran student ambassador or alumni can also help you to achieve your goals. So now that you know which works better for your goals, how do you work with an influencer? Well, very similar to a lot of the other processes that we've seen, it always starts with defining your campaign objectives. Like we were talking about, if with like the veteran scenario, figure out how many, how much you actually want to achieve with your KPIs, right? So let's say we're hoping to get 500 veterans enrolled for next year. Well, let's define that in the campaign objectives, identify the target audience. Obviously, we want to target veterans. Then select the right influencers. Now, we don't have enough time, unfortunately, to get into all of these steps. So we will provide the influencer marketing starter kit that we've created. It has a lot of information about how to select the right influencers. This includes research on really diving into who their followers are. You can look at things like demographics, geography, and interests, things like that. So very helpful for selecting the right influencer, as well as like kind of seeing what their historical performance has been, engagement rate, things like that. And knowing those metrics will help you to determine a campaign type and budget. Understanding what's the best price to negotiate is very complex and it's constantly changing, but we have provided the latest recommendations for influencer budgets in this influencer starter kit. We've also created some compelling campaign messages. So that is really going to be, reaching out to influencers with email or direct messages. We built a template for you that will help with that beginning influencer outreach. And then there are a few other steps that you can take to really get your influencer marketing campaign up and running. But again, we just don't have time to get through everything today. So we hope that you go check out that toolkit after today's discussion to learn more about it. But what we did want to make sure that we had time to discuss was how to start a student ambassador program. Many of you have had questions about this throughout our webinar series. So the first thing that you want to do is, to create the ideal candidate profile. The process is very similar to any kind of hiring process. You want to identify key qualities and eligibility criteria. Then you want to create an application. This will help you to collect those applications and find the ideal candidate. Then you need to decide on an incentive. Students need a reason to participate. You can offer scholarships, stipends, college experiences, or even an internship opportunities. Next, you'll need to get the word out. So create recruitment materials such as flyers, social media graphics, build a web page. That way you can host the application. So once you've created those recruitment materials, promote it with social media, emails, on-campus promotion, and word of mouth is really great. So you can start with marketing classes or video classes, reach out to professors, ask them if they would mind sharing information on the program. And then you hopefully will start getting some ideal candidates who are applying. Finally, with any job, we need to consider onboarding and training. So once you've found those ambassadors, create an onboarding and training schedule that includes information on your brand, guidelines for social media, and even potentially some public speaking best practices. Now, I do want to say, Training Minds, we are not entirely the absolute expert here, right? No one really is, because every single school is different when it comes to student ambassador programs. So we want to know if you've successfully set up a student ambassador program at your school, let us know in the chat and feel free to drop in any additional tips that you may have. And that concludes the final webinar of our Social Media Institute series. To recap, we've covered three main areas: organic tactics, which will help to grow your following without any additional paid cost. We have covered paid tactics such as social media campaigns, which can help you with long-term objectives such as enrollment, awareness, fundraising. We have also discussed when it is appropriate to boost a post and what that can help you to achieve. And then finally, we discussed influencer and content creator marketing. So the important thing is to be strategic and choose whether an influencer or content creator makes the most sense for your goals. So as I mentioned, influencer marketing starter kit. This was, a very large discussion that we could have spent a whole day talking about. So what we've done is provided those tips for identifying the right influencer, budget recommendations, and email outreach templates. So this slide deck that we've covered today, as well as the additional resource linked here, will be provided to you by Lumina Foundation within the next few days. So that being said, we will now wrap up with a 10-minute Q&A. So feel free to drop in any questions that you may have into the chat. Okay, can you recommend a software for looking up influencers? Yes, there is one that is very helpful. It is the TikTok Creator Center. All you need is a TikTok account. It can be a personal account. It doesn't necessarily have to be a business one. You can create an account and be able to look up influencers within the platform. It gives you a little bit of information about costs, like how much they typically charge. It also includes information on audiences. So like I said, demographics, you can see like where they're located, what their age is, top device, things like that. So I would recommend starting there. You can also check out Meta has its own version, which Meta is the parent company of Facebook and Instagram. So again, as long as you have a Facebook account, I think it may require actually a business page. So as long as you access it through your school's page, you should be able to access the Meta Creator Marketplace. And I'll give you a lot of information about like what current partnerships they have or partnerships in the past. And both of those are free. And Zach went ahead and dropped in the link. Oh, okay. So Meredith asked, what do you think is more effective for enrollment and retention? A student ambassador discussing student life or a student ambassador for a specific program such as nursing? This is a great question. Overall, a student ambassador discussing student life is probably the best when it comes to enrollment and retention. And I say that because it's more broad. If a student is just talking about student life versus a very specific program, you're able to reach more people. And I'm sure Zach probably would agree that like if you were to run this as a paid campaign, it does allow you to target more people instead of let's say high school students or career changers who don't necessarily know what they want to do. They just know that they want to change in life, not necessarily knowing which path they want to take.
Yeah, I would definitely echo what Megan's saying here. I think that if you have a student talking about general life on campus and what they're able to do, I think that's going to be able to be used for a wider audience, rather than if you are specifically looking for enrollment in a program, then you would want to lean in towards an ambassador going after that specific program, like nursing or anything else like that. The only issue with that, as Megan mentioned, is it kind of corners you into a niche. So you will be able to still promote campus and get a following from that. It's just typically going to be a bit smaller than what you could do with a wide range topic like life on campus, anything like that.
Doug's question. Do you have any specific recommendations for scaling the response mechanisms and approval chains for responses to questions and moderation of unwanted comments? Yes. One of the best things that you can do is go into the settings on your Facebook, Instagram page, or even TikTok, and you can change your language filter. So you can manually put in profanity, things like that, spam language into your hidden comments. So Facebook will automatically hide any comments that include those words. That helps a lot. As far as questions, I would recommend setting up chatbots. Those are also free to use in Facebook and Instagram. So you can set up a chatbot. It's a workflow that will allow you to, send out a general question and say, hey, thank you for reaching out to us. What do you need help with? And based on their response, you can send them to a couple of different places. So maybe they need help with applying for FAFSA. Well, you can send them to the FAFSA page, or maybe they want to know about enrollment deadlines. So you can change all of that with chatbots. And then Celine, I see your question about student ambassador program resources. As far as additional resources, we don't have a whole lot of other resources, as many of our clients take this in-house to create their own student ambassador programs. But like we had in this presentation, which you will be able to take with you after today, we have information about the steps. As far as, if you were looking for, all right, what should I include in a specific application or recruitment materials? I recommend looking at four-year institutions, especially public ones. Check out their social media pages, their websites. Just do a quick Google search and see if you can find student ambassador programs. That's a really great place to start, because you can kind of see, all right, this is the language that they use. This is what they require in the form. So that gives you a pretty good place of where to start. The other steps will be really dependent on your school. So like how you want to promote it, ideal candidate profile, but yeah, hopefully that helps a little bit. Hey, are there any other questions? We still have at least a minute left, so we could answer one more if anyone has a question. Okay. Looks like we got two questions in. Sarah, we do have capabilities to do social audits. That is a great question that one of the Emily's who's on might be able to also speak to. But it's an interesting process that we can either work with Lumina Foundation to work with your school, but I'm a little bit limited on what I can respond with there. And then what are some topics you recommend discussing in student ambassador content? Like I said, you can talk about student life. That's a really great one. So anything about like study tips, your campus, after school programs, well, not after school programs, but extracurriculars, things like that are really great for student ambassadors, as well as just enrollment topics as well. And then we are at 2 o'clock, so we may need to cut it off here. I don't want to keep anyone else too long. Sorry, Doug, that we weren't able to get to your last question, but thank you everyone so much for attending today. Like I said, today's slide deck, as well as that influencer marketing starter kit, will be shared with you all by Lumina Foundation.